This is it. This is the televised shootout, and we will, in about 45 minutes' time, possibly an hour, have our champion of 2017. Duncan Ricketts, historic racer and car builder, hammers the Riley-Dixon special, built by Brooklands racer Freddie Dixon. The clock is ticking.
And I love watching these guys because they know they're not going to win the hill climb. They know they're not going to beat the Penske IndyCar up the hill, but they want to feel that competition against the clock. They want to push their cars to the maximum. As he comes up now towards Malcolm, arriving at quite a speed, gets on the brakes, turns it in, gets back on the power nice and early, and powers on up the hill.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, it's just another opportunity for them to be at one with the car and put on a display. And in relative terms, Jack, that for its age and its power and its weight and its size and its mechanical grip, that's absolutely flying.
It is. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Through the final right-hander, he comes, and Duncan Ricketts in the Riley-Dixon special will be the first man to cut the timing beam. He's gone much, much quicker, actually, than he managed yesterday. Yesterday he did 115 seconds. Today it was 66 seconds. So that's actually very, very competitive. That's going to see him go a lot higher up the order, I think. George Wingard next up in the Mercedes Grand Prix. You can see. So Henry, do you know what the person's doing at the back, flapping that stick around?
Yeah, but pumping fuel.
Ah, okay.
Great, that, isn't it? That is a hugely important historic Mercedes Grand Prix car.
That's incredible.
In beautiful condition. George and Mrs. Wingard, always his faithful riding passenger at the Festival of Speed. He comes every year, and he's always a highlight of our pioneering batch. Batch 1 usually kicks off proceedings on Friday morning.
Now George Wingard.
He's not going to beat Duncan Ricketts' time, but that's perfectly understandable.
Yesterday, he managed 86.37 was the lap time. It's not going to be too far away. We've had Sally Mason-Steeren go out in the Ferrari 166mm Barchetta as well, and Duncan Pittaway in the Fiat S76 has left the line, and Wingard across the line 86.43. So incredibly, that's 0.05 of a second slower than he managed yesterday.
That's consistent. Sally Mason-Steeren is out in the Ferrari 166mm Barchetta. Lovely little late 1940s sports racer, similar to the car that won Le Mans for the first time when the race restarted after the war in 1949. Oh. Duncan Pittaway is en route in the Fiat S76. Sally Mason stops the clock 79.64, so she takes nearly 4 seconds off her time from qualifying.
But look at this, the beast of Turin. Absolutely incredible watching this car spit the flames, and it's just under that bonnet it's a joke.
Do you know, when that car was finally finished after a 10-year restoration, it came to Goodwood, and Duncan gave Lord March an exclusive fire-up ride.
Really?
In front of the house. It was absolutely deserted, and it's one of the most watched videos on the Goodwood website.
Really?
I think it is the most watched video. It's a beautiful thing.
Crosses the line, and it is going to be an 82.04 then for Duncan Pittaway.
Half a second off his best from the last run.
And that puts him third quickest of the 4 cars we've had out there so far. Still the Riley-Dixon special that went out first that is the quickest at the moment. Duncan Ricketts at the wheel, 66.19. That's going to put it sort of well up the order, actually, looking into should put him inside the top 30. That'll be the hope. Here comes Gareth Graham across the line now in the Mercedes 60 horsepower, and he goes second quickest.
Yes, he does.
Also got Patrick Blakeney-Edwards in the Fraser Nash Monoposto. Look at the rear of this car as he turns through the right-hander. You'll see a big old dent. It looks like they've tried to hammer it out a little bit, but he went spinning at Malcolm yesterday, backwards into the tyre barriers. No such dramas at Malcolm yet today, and comes across the line. Not quite going to beat the Riley-Dixon special, but does slot into second place, 3.3 seconds back.
No Ed Berrier, Jack, in the Chevrolet SS. Didn't go past us, did it?
No. Here's Ben Collins in the Mercedes Grand Prix. Look at that.
Look at the concentration, sitting close to that wheel, giving it big twirls out of Malcolm. Split 48.92 to beat. He's not going to be inside that.
Yesterday it was a 56.73 that he managed in the second split, and today it is a 55.92, so he's looking set to beat his lap time from yesterday, Ben Collings. As he thunders on up the hill. Fantastic to see these cars, isn't it, as the checker flag falls across the line, and it is a 76.22, 10 seconds off the pace of the Riley Dixon Special. We've sort of been, it's sort of gone a little bit out of the way, hasn't it, having that Riley Dixon Special go first, sort of out of sequence a little bit.
Yes, we've just seen William Medcalf on the screen. We won't have Dieter Kvester in the AFM Intertype because that caught fire, didn't it, down in front of the house earlier? So we'll...
oh, yes.
William Medcalf in the Pacey Hassan Special. Bentley will be next. There he is, making his way up through the penultimate corner at Birdless Grove. Just the long left-hander to finish his climb. Where is he going to be at the split?
Martin Wiesmann also has started in his Mercedes-Benz W125. Here comes Metcalf across the line, and it is 74.59.
It's a fraction quicker than he managed yesterday, almost a second.
Here comes Martin Wiesmann in that lovely Mercedes-Benz. That is just tremendous. Listen to him, just dabbing on the power, dabbing on the power, dabbing on the power, and flying up the hill.
Wonderful supercharged Silver Arrow. It really was one of motorsport's game changers, fitting in perfectly with our theme of 2017. Peaks of Performance, motorsport's game changers, where we celebrate all those great machines that were either too quick or too successful to continue, not have the rules rewritten. 1937, that car defeated everyone around it. 70.99 for Martin Wiesmann in the pre-war Grand Prix Mercedes.
Dudley Mason-Stearns in his way up in his Ferrari 365 GTB4, or the Daytona LM car. Whoa, thundering past the commentary box. Absolutely fantastic stuff from that Daytona, as in true test match special fashion. Cakes just arrived in the commentary box.
Classic. Save it for later.
Yes, all right.
We've got work to do, my friend.
Fine.
Sally Mason-Stearns did a 79.64. What can husband Duncan do in the admittedly much more grunty Daytona? 72.44 in qualifying. Just the last corner to negotiate. That's a glorious car, isn't it? The Maranello Concessionaires, red and blue, big front engine V12 Ferrari GT car, and across the line 71.32. He's gone quicker too. Our very first car on the hill, Jack, is still quickest.
Yeah, impressive stuff. Duncan Ricketts in that Riley Dixon Special, which wouldn't necessarily put it down for going quicker than the Ferrari Daytona.
The fastest car is almost 20 seconds quicker than that marker, though, so obviously Duncan will not stay at the top for long. Tim Dutton in the Type 59 Bugatti is safely through Moulcombe. Lovely car. Just brilliant. You could go to the Bugatti factory with your bag of gold and just come away with a ready-to-go, absolutely turnkey Grand Prix car in the 1920s, and you could do the Continental circuit and
those are the days.
Chase the big boys in your customer Bugatti. So cool.
So here comes Dutton towards the line. Also out, we've got James Wood in the Alfa Romeo Tipo B. Or that's waiting at the line, I think, as the checker flag falls for Tim Dutton, and it's going to be a 72.98, 6.8 seconds slower than the Riley Dixon Special of Duncan Ricketts.
Interestingly, I've got Mark Newson down as the driver of that Type 59.
Okay.
So it said Tim Dutton, didn't it? We'll get clarification on that when we can. James Wood in the glorious Alfa P3 Tipo B, car in which the great Italian, the flying Mantuan Tazio Nuvolari was so sensational in the 1930s. Car with which Enzo Ferrari made his name as both a driver and as a team manager. And then in 1947 he thought, do you know what, I'm going to build my own.
And he's less than a second down in the first split, is James Wood in this Alfa. So he now starts to climb the hill again. Look how packed it is up there after Moulcombe. Fantastic to see so many of you out here. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for joining us on the live stream as well. Here comes James Wood, and he's quick. He's quicker in that middle sector than the quickest car, so he's only a tenth of a second down now.
He's a top peddler, James Wood, married to Karina Laumann. so has access to all these fantastic cars in the Laumann collection.
Wood across the line now. Is it going to be quicker? Yes, it is, by half a second. So we've got a new car at the top of the pack, and it's the Alfa Romeo Tipo B of James Wood. Look at this one.
Oh, this is the wonderful Ferrari 166, isn't it? The ex-Fangio yellow and blue Ferrari of Max Wiesmann.
Well, Fangio, 5 times Formula 1 world champion, dominated the early years of Formula 1 world championship racing, did the Argentinian after growing up, rallying around Argentina. Fantastic book by Gerald Donaldson, all about Fangio's life. It really is excellent. Gerald, one of the top authors, basically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And his Gilles Villeneuve and James Hunt biologs are absolutely top draw.
But this is Wiesmann making his way up the hill. Let's see what he's got in this second split. That car is going for it, isn't it? Look at that, almost a little bit of sliding through the left-hander. He's about to cut the second sector beam and he's 1.7 seconds up. So I think we're going to see this Ferrari 166 go back to the top of the times, or move to the top of the times, as long as he keeps it neat and tidy up the hill.
Yeah, Duncan Ricketts managed to hold on to fastest time for about a dozen cars. That's not going to happen anymore because we're getting quicker and quicker with each one.
So that's 1.1 seconds quicker, and there is the second place driver at the moment in James Wood in the Alfa Romeo Tipo B.
65.68. Nope. Yeah, 65.
Away goes Stephen Hepworth driving the Hepworth-Ferguson hill climb car, the Sandblaster Special as it was known. Monster. Just sticking a couple of wheels onto the dirt as he flies in front of the house. There's the order at the moment. Max Wiesmann quickest, James Wood second, Duncan Ricketts third, but expect those times to still come down by a fraction under 20 seconds. Onto the brakes now into Malcolm. Then back on the power and back on the dirt on the inside. Climbing back up the hill. The rear of that car is absolutely just lovely. 1.8 seconds up as well after that middle sector. So this is a good run from Hepworth.
And we're going to see a new leader then in Stephen Hepworth in the Hepworth-Ferguson. Built by the family, of course, in period. Father David, a great hill climb champion, 61.97, comfortably our new leader.
And a couple of seconds quicker than the previous run.
Some great onboard footage there. Lorena McLaughlin, lady racer, very successful in Formula 4 in the 70s when she raced as Lorena Bowden. And she's in the 1985 Tolman TG185 Benetton sponsored car, raced by Teo Fabi. Took a couple of pole positions that year. It's the rather unfortunate distinction of starting a World Championship Grand Prix 3 times from pole and never led a lap.
Really?
2 of the poles he didn't come round in the lead at the end of the first lap.
Yeah.
One of them didn't start. Started from the back or the pit lane, if I recall correctly. Teo Fabi never led a lap. He had 3 poles.
That's quite something. Here comes Lorena McLaughlin then through the middle sector split, looking like she's a little bit down on time at the moment. 1.4 seconds down after that split, so we're going to see her come up towards the line and revving the Watsits off it.
Sounds like it's misfiring, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't sound good, does it, at all?
Good, no.
And coming across the line to do a 63.92, which is about a second slower than she managed yesterday in qualifying.
Foggy is right on.
Pleased with that. And I think that was
Stephen Hepworth.
Yeah.
Massive Ford Galaxy 500, big American V8 saloon car icon of Bill Shepard, who's a master of these machines, based down in Byfleet. Got a great setup there, and he tweaks Galaxies, Mustangs and Cobras. If you need your American V8 to stonk along, you go and see Bill.
What if you need an American V8 to start with?
You need to speak to the National Westminster.
6 tenths of a second down at the first split then, 67 miles an hour as he cuts the timing, the speed beam at Malcolm. Now climbing up the hill, past the flint wall on the left-hand side. We'll get the second sector split in a second. It'll be a little bit down again. Still just a little under a second here for Bill Shepard. Back on the power, having a few little bites at the throttle before finally committing. And up and across the line in that beautiful Ford Galaxy 500. And it is second quickest, a second down on the quickest time so far, set by that man there, Stephen Hepworth, in the Hepworth-Ferguson. Next up is
Julian Mizzou. This is going to be mighty. Pay attention, everybody. Here's Julian Mizzou in the supercharged Bugatti Type 35B. He is fantastic. He chucks this thing around with absolute abandon. Look at the oversteer already. This is a 90-year-old car. Truly magnificent. Look at him sideways round the first part of the opening series of corners, hammering along under the bridge. Julian giving it as much as he can. Got to get the speed scrubbed off over the brow there, Julian. Onto the brakes, get it turned in, feathering the throttle. A nice clipping point out to the edge.
6/10 down in the first sector. Really committed up past the flint wall. Is he still going to be 6/10 down? I think it's gone up a little bit. No, he's up by 0.2 of a second.
This is epic. This car has absolutely no right being as quick as this.
Here he comes then, Mizzou up towards the line. Is he going to take the quickest time away from Stephen Hepworth? Through the timing beam he comes, and it's quicker.
0.68 of a second, 61.29.
So that's the new quickest car out there.
Takes nearly 7/10 off his marker from qualifying. Annette Mason will be next in the Ferrari 512 BBLM.
Look at that counter steering as he just flies through, keeping it all on the safe and narrow, straight and narrow I should say. So Julian Mizzou quickest then in that Bugatti, Stephen Hepworth second quickest as it stands. Here comes Annette Mason.
Now, where will Annette Mason rank in the ladies' race? We've had Sally Mason-Stirren and Lorena McLaughlin out. Sally managed a 79.64, Lorena a 61.97. It's a cool sounding thing, isn't it?
Absolutely tremendous. Absolutely fantastic, isn't it? And the Masons demonstrate their cars an awful lot around the place. She's 400ths up in the first sector here, Annette Mason. So that is good. Evidently.
Yeah, she was quicker than Julian Mizzou in qualifying with a 61.74, but he's done a 61.29, so she's going to have to take more than half a second off her own best to usurp Mizzou. But the top of the timesheets in our televised shootout, we are one car away from the halfway mark.
0.3 of a second down after the middle sector. So here comes Annette Mason towards the line. Is it enough to take P1? Yes, it is, by 0.3 of a second.
Very good.
Very good final sector climb up the hill from Annette Mason in that Ferrari 512 BBLM. And there, climbing out, is Julian Mizzou, who was quickest, but has now dropped down to second. He's going to make his way towards the tent, where he will find the news that he was quickest, and now he isn't quickest.
Okay, we are at the halfway point with Nick Jarvis in the ex-Carlos Sainz Ford Escort Cosworth. World Championship rally winner back in the mid-90s. 2-litre turbo four-wheel drive rally weapon.
So that's how close it is at the moment between the top three. The times are only going to get quicker still. Maybe 15 seconds or so off the ultimate pace we're going to see. Here is Nick Jarvis coming through the first sector split then as he hurtles up towards the left-hander. Yeah, 0.8 of a second up. And he's on the grass as well. So this is a really swift run from Nick Jarvis. What did he manage in qualifying? A 60.82.
Yep. He was the fastest of the runners not in the 50s.
Okay, so
if you're with me.
So is he going to be in the 50s? That's going to be the 50s. That's going to be the challenge for Nick Jarvis. He's got a 61.01 to beat for Annette Mason. He is up on Annette Mason's time. Cuts the timing beam now. Is it enough? It is quickest. 60.57 though, so it doesn't quite dip into the sub 1 minutes, but the Escort goes quickest. There is Annette Mason, who has just returned to the top of the hill, and she is incredibly full of life and just I don't know how to. She's just magnificent.
Magnificent. The lead has changed each time with the past 3 cars.
Thank you very much. Now, I feel like we're turning into those pair of pointless. Like I'm Alexander. I'm like the one who sort of doesn't really know what's going on, and you sort of sit in the corner and say facts.
I'm the really tall one.
Yeah. I think I'm taller
Richard
than you.
Osman.
Are you taller than me?
I don't know.
Should we stand back to back now, or should we commentate on David Franklin?
Let's do that, yeah.
Okay.
If you want to work here again.
Here he comes, 0.2 of a second up in the first sector split then from David Franklin in that Ferrari 275 GTBC. Hurtling up the hill, this is just magnificent.
Veteran racer David Franklin and a former British hill climb champion, okay? He knows how to thread a car up a narrow piece of road at speed. And even a big Ferrari like this, big heavy front engine Ferrari, he's absolutely on it.
And he's 1.7 seconds up after the middle sector, so this is going to be our first sub 1 minute lap from David Franklin. Across the line he comes. Oh, sub 1 minute by halves. It was a 57.92, so it gets down into the 57s. Really good lap.
Yeah, he's taken 1.7 off his time.
There's Nick Jarvis in the Ford Escort Cosworth, who was quickest and has now dropped down into second position. Now this is a lovely one, isn't it?
Okay, let's see what Thunder Saloon veteran Pete Stevens can manage in the big 6-litre V8 Carlton Thunder Saloon. Car that was dominant in the late 80s in the Thunder Saloon series.
A lot of wheel spin off the line. David Franklin has really built out a bit of an advantage there, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
Up through the gears.
This was such a trick bit of kit in the late 80s. Pete Stevens winning races with Holman Blackman, Jonathan Bunkum. John Cullen drove it, but he never shared with Pete Stevens. He remember him sharing with Blackburn possibly, or Vince Woodman.
0.8 of a second down after the second sector split. Jonathan Bunkum, any relation to Alex and Chris?
Yes, yeah, Dad, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Here he comes now then towards the line, Pete Stevens. Let's see what lap time he has got.
59.12, so he's slower than he was in qualifying, which means he's not taken the lead.
There's David Franklin.
P1. Yeah, oh good.
P1, yeah, oh good.
Running in the middle of the grid.
Brilliant. Here's Mike Whitaker in the ex-John Surtees Lola T70 Spider, big 4.7-litre Chevrolet V8 Can-Am car, similar to the one in which Surtees took the inaugural crown in '66. And look at Mike with that period Surtees lid. How cool is that?
Yeah, really awesome, isn't it? And really throws this car around. He's already been pretty successful, that car, at Goodwood, hasn't it?
Yeah, he was more than a second quicker than his nearest rival in qualifying, which was Pete Stevens' Carlton. They're coming in reverse order, of course.
And he's 1.75 seconds up on the lap time of that Ferrari 275 of David Franklin already.
Absolutely lovely bloke, a real enthusiast. He's acquired this car from Phil Hall. And in the hands of Nick Padmore, when Phil owned it, it broke the lap record at Goodwood. It still holds it.
2.3 seconds up now. So here comes Mike Whitaker towards the line. Is he going to dip into the 55s here? Across the line he comes, and it's a 54.65.
Massive time. That's a massive time. Well done, Mike Whitaker. That's beautiful.
Here's a look at the super slow-mo coming into Morecambe. Does he get a couple of wheels on the grass on the inside? Look how much quicker he's gone than Peter Stevens there. Nick Jarvis now drops down to third, but Mike Whitaker with a 54.65. Incredibly impressive. 2 seconds quicker than he managed in qualifying, and there is everyone.
Bruce and Chris up there at the top, telling David Franklin. Here's the first of our Euro NASCAR RCO1s. It's Jerome Galpin, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he was in the 55s. He was 1.5 seconds quicker than Mike Whitaker. But Whitaker's eclipsed that already. Whitaker's made the biggest improvement of anyone so far.
Galpin is pushing. This is the Euro NASCAR series, which runs at 6 events around Europe. One of them in the UK at Brands Hatch. Throwing it through the left-hander. And it's Anthony Kumpen who's leading that championship at the moment. The legend of Zolder, won the Zolder 24 Hours many, many, many times.
Yeah, lots of FIA GT success with as well in Chevrolet Corvettes.
Indeed, and he is, Jerome Galpin here is up on Mike Whitaker's time, but only by 1/10 of a second or so, so it's all about this drag to the line. What's it going to be for Jerome Galpin? It is quicker by 0.09 of a second.
got out the car, that's
Not for long.
So this
Cars
is
in
the
one piece.
second place
Yeah, that's Mike.
driver
There
now,
we go.
Mike Whittaker.
they're over here.
What do you do?
So-
54.
Who, sorry? Whittaker.
What did Jerome do?
Jerome did a 54.56.
That's it.
This now is Thomas Ferrando.
Okay, so in qualifying, there was 2/100ths of a second between our Euro NASCARs.
Really?
That's pretty good. Isn't it?
Whoa, slidey for Ferrando.
That shows you how evenly matched the guys are.
And the cars as well, basically the same cars underneath with different body shells on top. And he's half a second down though in the first sector, big opposite lock as he comes into Moulcombe. Spectacular stuff from Ferrando, but maybe not super fast at the moment. Let's see what he's got as he comes through the middle sector, up past the flip wall. Cuts the timing beam now, he's up by 4.5 tenths of a second. Fantastic middle sector, brushes the bales and drives towards the line. Ferrando trying to finish ahead of Jerome Galpin, his fellow Euro NASCAR competitor. The checker flag falls and Thomas Ferrando goes quicker by 2/100ths of a second. So how much were they split by in qualifying?
2/100ths of a second.
Well, consistent.
I'm not joking either. Brilliant. That's great. And they're both, they're both quicker than qualifying.
Fantastic.
By the two, just under a second.
Look at those top three all separated by and arriving in style there.
Big skids
at the
in the
top of the
top
hill for Jerome Galpin.
Who's next? Right. Oh, Brabham BT49. How luscious. Spaniard Joaquin Folch-Rusinol will be our next car. He's pleased with that, isn't he, Thomas? Oh, right. Okay. This is Ed Berrier running out of sync.
Yeah.
So I will have to tip-X out the line and put through his name.
Oh, and he's off. Ed Berrier's off. He had a spin earlier on at the second corner, but this time it's the first corner that has seen Ed Berrier in the bales. That came out of nowhere.
Oh dear, yeah, it did. But no damage to the bales, I don't think.
Let's look at it again. Here he comes towards the first corner. And... oh, that's got to be a failure there, hasn't
absolutely, yeah, it's got to be.
Because I wasn't even, to be honest, really looking at the screen at that point. I was looking at my notes because he was just at the first corner. So something must have gone wrong with it.
That's understeered straight off, hasn't it? The fronts weren't even locked.
No.
Yeah, something's broken on that. The steering arm possibly, or something like that, or...
Yeah, but obviously the front left looks like it's a mess
because of the
now,
bale.
but
Yes.
whether that was cause or effect.
Here's Thomas Ferrando, our P1 man so far in the Euro NASCAR RCO1.
And this is a GT4 spec, remember. You can get a GT3 McLaren, which would be a bit quicker. Well, quite a bit quicker, probably about over a lap at somewhere like Donington Park. You're probably looking at 7 or 8 seconds a lap quicker, I'd say, a GT3 car.
Yeah, these are the entry-level ones, aren't they? I went around Goodwood actually with Darren Turner in the GT4 Aston. Mightily impressive for sort of entry-level production-based car.
Well, away goes Ollie Milroy then, on the run down towards the first corner. He's 6 tenths up after that first little sprint, that little 100-metre dash.
It's all about carrying the speed and keeping it neat. Comes under the bridge, through the left-hander, and then it kinks to the right, over the brow. Get your braking done before the brow. Turn in, squeeze the power.
Only 6/100ths of a second down in that first sector.
Okay, so he's got a 54.54 to beat. 54.54 to beat for Ollie Milroy. It doesn't look like we're going to have Joaquin Folch-Rusinol actually in the BT49, which is a shame.
Ollie Milroy now 2 seconds down after that middle sector, so I don't think he's quite gonna get there. Now he comes towards the line, 54.54 to beat, and it's going to be somewhere in the 56s here, maybe even 57.76 for Ollie Milroy, 3.22 seconds down. I just wonder whether the grunt of those Euro NASCARs up the hill is what helped him. Thumbs up for Thomas Ferrando, who is still the quickest man.
Yeah, and thumbs up to Paul O'Neill, who was quicker than Ollie Scott actually in qualifying.
Johnny Adam, Aston Martin Vantage GTE. This is the car that won at Le Mans 2 weeks ago in the GT class.
Yeah, barring problems, this will go quicker. There's a big jump down to Johnny Adam from our Euro NASCARs.
Here he comes then through the first sector split, headlights ablaze, as you would expect from a car that races at night time, and he is a 10th of a second down in sector 1. leaning on the car all the way through the left-hander. In front of all the fans who were on that stretch in between Moulcombe and the Flint Wall.
Yeah, the Scot took a last gasp win at Le Mans, didn't he, a few weekends ago with Darren Turner and Daniel Serra in this Pro Drive run, Aston Vantage V8 GTE Pro. What's it going to be? 54.54 to beat. He's not going to get there, is he?
No, I don't think he is. So across the line here comes Johnny Adam. He did a 53.96 in qualifying, but that's a 58.17. So that's quite dramatically slower.
Yeah, he's either has he made a mistake somewhere, or has he just eased off?
You can really see it, but maybe he just wasn't super pushing. But Thomas Ferrando and Jerome Galpin remain the two quickest drivers. So where are we up to now? We've only got about 12 cars to go or so.
Yeah, the gaps start to get a little bit bigger now as we spread out. Billy Johnson goes next in the Ford Mustang GT4, 53.05. So he was nearly 9/10 of a second up on Johnny Adam after qualifying. He's been spectacular in this car. Look, taking a grassy apex, which has pushed him out wide a little bit there.
About to come through this first sector split. Hurtling up towards Moulcombe, really, really fast. And he is 0.8 of a second up in that first sector alone. Flying lap from the Ford Mustang GT4.
He's more used
onto
to
the Prix now through the Flint Wall.
He's more used to the GT, the World Endurance Championship GT Pro car, which generates much more downforce than this.
Lost a little time in the middle sector, so can he beat the 54.54 set by Thomas Ferrando, who's watching on as the checker flag falls, and Johnson goes quicker by a second. Wow, made up an awful lot of time in that final sector.
Not as quick as he was in qualifying, though. He's half a second down.
Here's a look at him going all over the place. Look at the rear of the car as he just comes through. Oh, that was a bit weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a bump under the bridge there. Slow-mo coming over the brow, hard on the brakes into Moulcombe. You can see the car moving around. Okay, here this goes. Yeah, there's a big gap to this car. This cracked 50.37. Charlie Eastwood, young Irish Porsche Carrera Cup GB race winner. Straight out of karting. Did a little bit of single-seaters, didn't work out. Became a Porsche scholar. And has been a star. And Porsche have let him drive for all their old classics.
Now he's in this wonderful 911 Cup car, 1.5 seconds up after the first sector here, Charlie Eastwood. Really starting to hurtle round, isn't he? We'll get a look at the middle sector split here as he flashes past the Flint Wall. And he's 2.3 seconds up now. So I think we're going to see him go quickest. He managed 50.37, so can he get sub 50 seconds here? It's going to be tight across the line. No, not quite. 50.51, so fractionally slower than he managed in qualifying, but the quickest time of all so far. And that was the... no, we've still got one more GT car, haven't we? We've got Anthony Reid to come as we look at Billy Johnson there. Second place in the Ford Mustang GT4.
Okay, what have we got now? Anthony Reid in the Polish supercar, the Aranera Hozira GT3. This is a beast, and Anthony Reid is maximum attack. He's missed a commitment. He's won this shootout before in a GT3 car, in a Chevron. I'll never forget his commitment through the Flint Wall where he touched the bail and the wall. It was just mighty. Here we go, on board with Anthony Reid. Former Formula 3 champion, British Touring Car Championship race winner, and podium finisher at Le Mans. Get it turned into the apex, hard on the power.
Identical first sector time to the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, to the nearest 100th of a second. Here he comes up through the Flint Wall incredibly quickly.
This is impressive stuff from this Polish supercar up against a tried and tested Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car.
He's a second up now after that middle sector.
Oh, he's run that absolutely to the max. 48.2. What on earth? So, Anthony Reid, what are you taking?
That's 2 seconds quicker than he went in qualifying. That is a tremendous lap time from Anthony Reid. And there is Charlie Eastwood getting out of the car. He was quickest, now he's second quickest.
48 seconds in a GT3 car.
That's tremendous.
Brilliant. Right, David Shaw in the full land Cosworth, based on the March 1972. Raced in Prix by Rob Stomlin, and David sporting a Rob Stomlin lid, which is cool. There's confirmation. Reed from Eastwood from Johnson. Anthony Reed, the Scot, veteran Scot, hugely experienced and successful. He's way out front, isn't he?
Now, this car in qualifying, why am I struggling to see a time? Am I being blind?
Yeah, 54.47.
Okay, I'm being blind. He's a second or so down after the first sector split. Oh yes, no, I see it now, sorry. I found it in the end.
You're back in the room.
Here he comes through the middle sector, almost 3 seconds down now, so this Eiffel land isn't going to set the world alight. Could put him, though, up into the top 5, maybe even the top 3 if he has a good run up the hill. Here comes Shaw across the line, and it is third quickest, 4.6 seconds down on that lap time. And Anthony Reed looks suave, doesn't he?
There he is. Look, he's got overalls made to look like he's wearing his members' meeting house captain's jacket. How cool is that?
What does the house captain do?
There are four houses for the members' meeting. Obanye, Darnley, Methuen and Torbolton, and they each have captains, and spectators and fans score points towards their house by playing games. Drivers are assigned a house, and you win a race, score more points. And there's an overall house. It's a little bit boarding school.
That brings back memories, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Here comes Pat Doran, who shunted on day 1 up at Morecambe as he hurtles away in his RS200. Anthony Reed quickest then so far, 48.28. Pat Doran managed only a 52.29 in qualifying. To put that lap time into perspective, that would have put him 4th quickest, Anthony Reed, in qualifying.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, only 3 people have gone quicker than that.
So 4th quickest.
And he was actually he was 10th, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, and look at this, Pat Doran's on it. 7/10 of a second up after the first sector. That's very quick for the man who only managed a 52 in the qualifying run. Swinging it up through the wall, tail stepping out a little bit through the next split. He's lost a second. And now driving towards the line, Anthony Reed has the time to beat, 48.28. Pat Doran did a 52 in qualifying. He's going to better that time with a 50.98. So that's 3rd place for Pat Doran. And Anthony Reed with a little smile and a like Vettel #1.
I love those overalls.
Yeah, they're tremendous,
classic, aren't they?
I'd get some like that in like pyjama style as well. I think that would look really classy.
Not working in here with me, you wouldn't.
Look at that delight for Anthony Reed. Still quickest. Here we go.
Oh, Paul Dallenbach. He's always mighty in this shootout. In the extraordinary PVA Special Hill Climb car, he's done a 51.13. Round the first of the 2 right-handers that bring cars onto the straight in front of the house. Very, very squirmy and twitchy. That massive Pikes Peak Hill Climb car. The rear wing's almost as big as the bridge.
Oh, he's hurtling up into Morecambe. Onto the brakes, gets it tucked in, very, very neat and tidy.
That's a terrifying piece of kit, isn't it?
It's just nuts. Up to the Flint wall.
Oh, mind the wall, Paul.
Through the middle sector, only 7/10 of a second down here on Anthony Reed, so this could slot him up into 2nd place if he really hooks it up in the final climb. You'd hope it should be all right climbing the hill, being a hill climb car. Cuts the timing beam and it's 2nd place. Sub 50 seconds, 49.6 seconds. And Anthony Reed, he's starting to get excited, isn't he? Look how close he got to the wall here. Well, not super close, but just because the car leaned and because it's got that massive rear wing, it looked like it was going to... He's enjoying it up there, isn't he, Anthony Reed? Great stuff. Such a character. I don't really like using that phrase, but he is such a character. Now, here comes James Grint in the Mitsubishi Mirage RX Rallycross car.
He's been great all weekend, chucking this little pocket rocket around. James, brother of Rupert Grint. Harry Potter fans among you will know that Rupert played Ron Weasley in the film franchise. James, a massive rally fan, hugely sideways across the apex in front of the house. The rallycross car, of course, not built for top speed. It's built for acceleration and punch out of the corners.
And I tell you what, he's up by 0.8 of a second in the first sector, and he is throwing that car all over the shop. This is a tremendous run from James Grint. He managed a
have to
49.85 in qualifying.
He'd have to take more than a second and a half off his best from qualifying to usurp Anthony Reid in the Arenera.
He's now 2/10 down after the middle sector.
Interesting, isn't it? Quicker in the first sector, slower in the second.
And slower overall.
49,
it's third place for James Grint. Anthony Reid still P1.
He's loving that, isn't he?
Mike Skinner next up. This is a thunderous machine.
Yeah, he only managed a 49.70 as well, so he'll have to go some to take a second and a half off.
He'll make some noise doing it though, won't he? There's the order at the moment. Anthony Reid, Paul Dallenbach, and James Grint, the top three.
Such a tricky thing to keep neat. Very, very oversteery. Huge power, not much weight over the rear wheels. Big V8 out front.
Here he comes, flying into Malcolm. Oh. Judging on the power beautifully as he runs right up towards the edge of the road. We'll get a look at his second sector split here as he goes right up close to the flip wall, the back end dancing around. He's 0.7 of a second down, but this is just spectacular stuff.
Just one corner to go for Mike Skinner, multiple truck champion in NASCAR. Squirmy over the top and across the line, a 49.02. Anthony Reid holds on to the lead.
Still in second place. He's going to have to start thinking of some more celebrations soon, isn't he?
Oh, right.
This is getting monstrous now.
Stand back. Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats.
Andy Newell is mighty in this massive M8F. 8-litre Chevrolet Can-Am monster, and he is really aggressive with it.
Oh, it just sounds so
good to watch. Thunders past the house, under the bridge, up to us. Over the brow of Malcolm. Big old car to get stopped and turned in.
He's only 0.03 of a second up in the first sector, but this grunt up the hill is where it's really going to pay dividends for the McLaren.
Car that took Peter Revson to the title in 1971, the last of McLaren's titles. They won all of them between 67 and 71. What can Andy Newell add to this remarkable car's history as he thunders over the top and he takes 49.41, more than a second adrift.
Still in third place, so Anthony Reid still the quickest car so far. There are all the drivers up there. And here's a look at that McLaren thundering up the hill. How close do they get to the bales on the exit? Super close, but I just love it when they just dip a little wheel onto the grass.
Yep. 6 cars have followed Anthony Reid and not bettered his time.
Now here is the record holder for the hill, Nick Heidfeld. He was driving a McLaren back then. Now he's driving an FIA Formula E car, the Mahindra car, the M4 Electro. This is a Season 4 development car, not been raced yet. Heidfeld saying yesterday, there isn't much more to come out of this machine. He gets very, very twitchy as he comes into Moulcom. We ride on board with him here.
48.93 he managed in qualifying, so 7/10 adrift of Anthony Reid's marker. Into Moulcom, keep it neat, back on the power.
Half a second up as the back end tries to swap ends on him, but he keeps it all together, Nick Heidfeld. Obviously a very different machine to the ones we've seen before. Pretty quiet, but he is chucking that around through the middle sector now, and he's still 2.5 of a second up. So this is going to be a close one here for Heidfeld. This final hill, major struggle with the electric powertrain as he now comes across the line. Nick Heidfeld, does he beat Anthony Reid? No, he doesn't.
It's all about the power, isn't it? Up the hill, round the last 2 corners.
0.3 of a second slower. Nick Heidfeld setting a 48.59, which is still the quickest time for an electric single-seater up the hill here at Goodwood. And spectacular stuff from Nick Heidfeld. Look at him opposite locking as he comes around the left-hander at Moulcom. The next Formula E race is in 2 weeks' time in New York City, don't forget.
The excitement is almost unbearable. The next 3 cars are the only 3 cars that have gone quicker than 48. It's all down to these last 3 cars. Mark Higgins, multiple British Rally champion, goes off the line in the Subaru WRX. The wastegate on the turbo shattering as he shuts the throttle.
Now, this is spectacular. Look how much grass he's taking. Track limits abuse here. Coming through the first sector split now. Is he going to be up or down on Anthony Reid? Onto the brakes, he's up by 7/10 of a second.
Oh, he's left foot braking as he takes the apex on the grass. There's not as much grip over there, even though it's got rally pedigree, and Mark is ace on the loose.
Back end stepping out through the middle split. He's 4/10 up now, so neat and tidy through the final sector. And we're going to have Mark Higgins in the Subaru WRX STI moving to the top of the times. Is it finally going to push Anthony Reid off the top? Yes, it is, by 3/100ths of a second. Anthony Reid has his head in his hands at the top of the hill. So close, but well. Look at this was him taking the second corner, or just taking his own track at the second corner.
Do you know what? That's slower than he managed in qualifying.
Really?
He did a 47.6. Yeah, 6/10 quicker he went. So that might have accounted for it. That grassy moment there. Slow-mo of him turning into Malcolm. See his hands working on the wheel, get it turned in. The front tyre takes a grassy apex.
Well, 2 to go, and this is Justin Law in the Jaguar XJR 12D. This is going to be spectacular. 2 cars to go.
And they were within 1/100th of a second of each other, both in the 46s. Justin Law a 46.69, Jeremy Smith a 46.68. Justin Law, vastly experienced. He's always in the running in the shootout here at the Festival of Speed in the big Bud Light Group C car.
Half a second up as he turns into the left-hander of Malcolm. Now climbing the hill in this wonderful Jaguar. Oh, flying past the bales. Do you see how close he got to the bales on the right-hand side? 1.3 seconds up now. This is going to be the benchmark. This is going to be what they are going to have to beat. Justin Law up across the line, goes quickest at 46.13. That's rapid.
That is rapid. It's all down to Jeremy Smith in the Penske PC22 IndyCar. He managed a 46.68. That's a huge time from
really
Justin
good.
Law.
So,
and did you see him shave the apex of the last left-hander?
Yeah,
I mean, almost
it was the
inch
flint
perfect.
wall for me. The flint wall for me was just incredible. So there's Justin Law, 46.13. So Jeremy Smith needs to go half a second quicker than the time he managed in qualifying if he wants to go and win. And there's a shake of the head, actually, frustration for Mark Higgins.
Yeah, because he knows it. He was 6 or 7 tenths down. Here it is, all to play for, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy Smith off the line in the Penske Chevrolet PC22 IndyCar.
Oh, look at the car twitching around as he's shifting up through the gears. So much power in this car.
The best power to...
Oh,
it's very sideways.
This is incredible stuff as he really throws his way up the hill. How's he going to be at the first sector split? He's 4/10 of a second down already. So what can he rescue on his climb back up the hill?
He's got it all to do now, otherwise we'll have victory for Justin Law in the big Jaguar.
Here comes the second sector split, and he's 3/10 down, so he's closing the gap. It's Jeremy Smith trying to outfox Justin Law. Here they come up the hill, smoke pouring from the back of the car. Who's quickest? It's going to be 9/100ths of a second between them, and it is Justin Law who is quickest.
Yeah? Yeah. Has he done his run? I think so.
Yes, Justin.
Is that it?
Yes, and he's slower than you, my friend.
Is that it? Still P1.
So that's
Excellent.
it. Justin Law finding out in the Jaguar at the top of the hill that the XJR 12D is the quickest. Look at this moment for the IndyCar, though, Henry. This was close.
Yeah, that could have made the difference. Yeah. That started with understeer as he turned into late snap oversteer on the exit, and that may well have compromised his run. He clipped the bales on the apex there, made the car run really wide out at the final turn there. Here's a slow-mo of the car.
Oh, it's beautiful, though, isn't it? It
Bobbing
finished
around.
second, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, look at the underbody aerodynamics working over the bumps. You know, this isn't a racetrack, this is the drive of the house. It's got cambers and bumps and lumps and crowns in the road.
It means so much to him.
Yeah, I know, absolutely marvellous. Marvellous for Justin, the family, for all of us. The Laws have been bringing great Jaguars to Goodwood for years and years. Just great to have them. Great to have them here, and great to have Justin winning again this year. He's hit the wall a few times, but he managed to miss it this time. And well done, mate. Congratulations. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well done, well done.
Justin, they said once you turn 40 you'd get quicker. You have.
Well, I'm in shock at the moment. It wasn't expected at all.
But a tenth of a second, the final runner up the hill in the Jeremy Smith in the Penske was getting closer and closer to your time, but your speed in the middle of the course was unbelievable.
Well, there was so much debris on the track. I mean, it changes every day, and it's so tricky to to guess what you're going to be up against. But just keep your foot in and hope for the best, I think, was the theory, and it paid off.
And you've made Anthony Reid cry because he was first for so long. You had to have the final 15 cars come past, but you in the penultimate car took victory. Huge congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So, Justin Law's done it then. He is our 2017 Shootout winner. The fastest man up the hill climb course at the 2017 Festival of Speed.
Well, what a performance from Justin Law. What a hill climb run that was. Incredibly exciting towards the end. Less than a tenth of a second between them at the end. And he's enjoying it, isn't he? Turned 40 yesterday.
Good man. That's a really incongruous machine to thread up this narrow hill climb, I tell you.
Yeah.
It's a huge, huge beast. And you're not really going quick enough to get the downforce to work effectively. That's a big skill.
Anthony Reid saying that tastes good after having a little sip of the winner's champagne there for Justin Law. Oh, it's incredible seeing these cars go up the hill, isn't it? Here he is again, up into Moulcombe. Less than a tenth of a second, and not using too much of the grass, just threading it perfectly through the left-hander. Up at the hill for me was the most spectacular point at the Flint wall. Here he goes, kicking up all the hay and straw at the top of the hill as he went and set the quickest time.